Hello and welcome to the latest Quarry podcast. This year has seen the biggest ever Specsavers Youth Games, with around 800 children taking part across a variety of sports. Joining me to discuss the event is Nicky from the Guernsey Sports Commission and Martin Watts from the Guernsey Squash and Racquetball Association. Thank you so much for coming in for our latest podcast with the Quarry today. Here to talk about the latest youth games. Nicky, I was just hoping you might be able to give me some of the background really to where the youth games came about.
Well, this year was the 20th year and the 11th time that we've held the Specsavers Youth Games. Started back in 2005, long before I was involved in the Sports Commission. But Specsavers were on board at the very beginning, and the aim hasn't really changed over the years. It's about getting children to try a new sport, play a new sport, have a competition in that sport, have fun, and really enjoy Games Day.
It must be great to see that unfolding and how the children take that on. But there's a bit more background, obviously, than just the day itself. And there's lots of coaching that goes on, I know. So just take us through that process as well.
Yeah, I mean, the process really starts the year before when I start thinking about it, and we start thinking about organising it, and we get a message out to sports and say, look, who's interested, who wants to be on board? And actually, you know, the response is always brilliant. But our expectations of the sport are that they hold training sessions in advance of Games Day that total up to 6 hours of coaching. So that could be 6 hour long sessions, 4 hour and a half, however they want to do it, trying to avoid things like Easter holidays and half term, trying to make sure that they're at times that children will be able to access them. So sort of after school, early evening, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. And then we put all that information together, usually around sort of December time. Then we bring that all together into an information brochure. And in January, we take it out to schools and we go and present to all the year 5 and 6 pupils from all the schools, including the private schools, tell them about the youth games, give them a copy of the brochure with all the information. Then they go away, have a chat with their parents and decide what they'd like to try.
There's a huge variety on offer as well, isn't it? So a real chance to try something new if you're already within the sporting scene.
Yeah, from the Sports Commission's point of view, we want every child to find a sport that really fits for them. That could be an individual sport, something like squash or bowls. It could be a team sport, netball, softball, basketball. So it's really important that we have a real variety of sports on offer. For instance, new this year was archery, and archery haven't been involved before. But we also knew, to be fair on archery, we were going to have to keep the numbers quite low. So there were only 12 spaces available in archery. And when I got all the forms in, over 800 of them, and put them all in my big spreadsheet and looked at who put archery as their first choice, I had well over 100 kids who wanted to do archery. So that just shows that they're really up for trying something new. And, you know, when a new sport comes in, we can usually fill it.
And then just from your perspective as well, like coming from the squash background, what was it like when you first got the children in, I suppose, for the first training session?
I think I've been lucky enough to have been involved in the first one, actually, because I was here in 2005 when they first started. And I think Nicky will agree that we're one of the first sports that says yes every single year. We jump at the chance. In terms of the events that the Sports Commission do, the Specsavers Youth Games is just one of the best events they do. And the take-up of juniors after the event is fantastic for us. Quite often a third of the people, we have 30 children take part, and quite often we get 8 to 10 children take up squash after that. I think it's the whole setup, from the assemblies the Sports Commission do to introduce it. The other key little factor is that they're supposed to choose a sport they don't normally do. And being a slightly smaller sport ourselves, that really helps us because obviously most of them are in sort of the mainstream sport. So they get the chance to do squash. And then they come along to us and they do 6 weeks training. We build a rapport with them. It is a competition on the final day, but it's a fun competition. They play for their team, which is always great. Brilliant colours. Yeah, every one of the team, they get their own T-shirt with a bright colour. They then have lunch all together, and then we go down to Foots Lane, and they split up into their teams and have even more fun with the rest of their peers. Split up into their teams and then do the parade at the end. It's just a fantastic day.
What kind of things do you do with the children through those training sessions as well?
Almost simple skills to start with. the ability is quite varied when they first come in. So we like to sort of make everybody feel welcome, from the ones that struggle a little bit to the ones that do a bit better. So we go through all the shots that they need. By the third or fourth week of training, we've usually introduced the rules. So the last couple of weeks, we get a little bit of game practice in, so they know what's going to happen on the day, just so there's no surprises. They all feel comfortable on the day, and they realise it's a competition, but at the end of the day, it's a friendly competition as well.
And I guess that comfort with the sport has got to be quite important for that journey as well, to keep them involved.
Absolutely. It's really important that young people develop a love of sport at an early age, because we really want them to enjoy it, to feel that they're welcome, to get used to even where that sport takes place. It's one thing playing a sport in the playground at school, but it's quite another sometimes to go to a venue where there might be more people. You're not quite so sure of where things are. So again, that's part of it. It's having the opportunity to play that sport at that venue, feel comfortable with it, learn how to come in, how to come out, all of those different things, build up the confidence. And then really our hope is that they will develop that love of sport that will stay with them for life. So by finding a sport that fits for them, we really hope that, they take that through.
And bringing it forward a little bit, we're talking on the back end of the latest event, a few days afterwards. How did it all go?
Wow, what a day. It's the biggest yet. We had well over 800 children who completed the application form, and I'm pretty sure we had around 800 on the day. It is one big logistical nightmare, but it is one that everybody plays their part in. Everything from, getting the kids to their competitions, handing out the T-shirts, the water bottles, getting the buses to pick them up, to take them down to Foots Lane. We had children arriving over pretty much a 2-hour period, keeping them entertained at the hockey club. Obviously, we had fantastic weather, making sure they're putting sunscreen on, keeping them fed and watered. We had loads of fruit available for them. Goodness me, they ate all the fruit. We had fresh Guernsey milk for them to rehydrate. Again, that was really, really popular. So we gathered them all at the hockey club. And then once they're all there, and I think our last team arrived at about 10 to 3 because the bus was slightly late, we then have to try and sort of corral them into their teams, which when they've been running around, shrieking and having their faces painted is quite a task. But we ran them up into their teams. We had some fantastic flag carriers and team leaders this time, a few who will be competing in Orkney in a few weeks' time. And then we lead them out for the closing ceremony parade, which if you've ever been there, is loud. We have the Samba Burros drummers who drum us out, create a fantastic atmosphere. And then the children parade out in their teams, shouting their team names. They've got their faces painted, parading in front of, their parents and carers and grandparents who are filling the stands. It's an absolutely fantastic sight.
How did you find it as well?
I think, as Nicky said, I think for me, as a coach, I think there's so many fantastic things about it, but the variety of people involved, from the participants, the children that take part, to the coaches as well. I think Nicky mentioned about them going to the sport, going to the new venue and making themselves feel comfortable. They also learn the personnel that are involved in that sport as well. There's lots of barriers getting involved in sport, and I think this particular event really breaks a lot of those barriers down. They come down, they feel comfortable. Parents got involved as well. I like to make the point to the parents, look, you can watch the competition. You can watch at Foots Lane. I do like to tell them it's going to be very, very busy. This year was over 800 people. So I think they like that advice, because they did tell me when they picked up people, it was pretty chaotic, but picking that many people up. But it's just a busy day, a friendly day. But the fact that everyone works together and there's such a variety of different people in there, it is just fantastic for everybody.
And I think one of the barriers that Martin mentioned that we continue to try to break down after the games is, if a family can't afford to pay the fees, we run a sports voucher scheme. So if there is a family in need and if they want to continue with that sport, speak to me at the Sports Commission and we'll see what we can do. Because finance shouldn't be a barrier. Sport should be for everyone. And we've all got to work together to try to make sure that, we break down those barriers as far as possible. And if the Youth Games does that by introducing them to a sport, let's make sure they can carry on.
yeah, I guess like that longevity and that love of sport that you want to see continue. This is almost like just sowing that seed, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, we do have examples where, we've had, I think everyone quotes it, but Abby Galpin, from youth games athletics to gold medal winning, Island Games athlete and beyond. She's competing at the highest level, and she started athletics thanks to the youth games. So yes, there's that side of things. Maybe, we are hopefully breeding some Island Games stars of the future. But more than that, it's about participation and enjoyment. And, that's what the Sports Commission stands for. That's what we're passionate about, making sure that everybody can play sport and be part of sport. And maybe, even if they don't play, they could be the coaches, the umpires, the referees of the future. So having that really positive experience of sport through the youth games hopefully leads to better things.
And you had a bit of a link in with the Island Games as well. This is like quite nice. We're talking like a couple of weeks away, like you say.
Yes, well, it's an interesting one really, because a few years back when I first got involved, the teams were organised by where you lived. So that actually brings quite a few challenges, because we would have St Peter Port, St Sampson's, Vale, Cattel, and then we'd lump all of the others, into the west. But St Peter Port was always the biggest. And then if you think you've got sort of 700-800 applicants, and if 200 of them are from St Peter Port, and you're trying to make up 6 teams in basketball, it just makes it really, really difficult.
I think at one point you actually split St Peter Port to north and south, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Which was quite interesting. But just coming back to that point you just mentioned, from a sport, the teams that you pick now are much, much better, because we get an even number from each team. So it does help us quite a lot.
And also, I think one of the aims of the games is for children to make new friends. So it's now a random allocation of team. And so 2 years ago, in 2023, we chose 6 islands who would be competing in the Island Games, which were hosted by Guernsey just a few weeks after the Youth Games. And then this time, to try to keep that theme, we chose 6 animals or birds that live in and around Orkney, where, of course, the games will be in a few years' time. And I think the children really enjoyed that. A few of them were unsure. They didn't know what a curlew was or a kittiwake was, but they know now.
This is just a really nice touch and creating that connection. And a lot of this does seem to be about connections. You're talking about friendships, you're talking about connection with the sports as well. From like that coaching perspective, again, do you see real success stories from that come out of this?
Yeah, definitely do. I think the first thing is participation, getting them involved. From a squash point of view, we do take children a little bit younger, but actually years 5 and 6 is a really fantastic age to take up squash. It's probably as other sports as well, but at that age, we get a lot of our sort of older juniors involved as well. So we have lots of helpers helping out, whether they're scoring, whether they're teaching them the rules and things like that. We just get a range of our players involved. That works for us because they get to know lots of different people. I'm generally the common face that's there at every session. And to start with, they obviously do it as a participation thing, but actually you see quite quickly the ones that actually, we want to continue playing squash. And then they take up 1 club a week, 2 clubs a week. They then do our junior league. Yeah. They take it into senior school when they move up, either next year or the year after. Again, at that point, they meet different friends from the sport and the new school. We get different other people involved, so it sort of opens up a lot of opportunities for them as well.
It must be great as well to have had that consistency of the support from Specsavers as well to make sure you can do this, because these events don't come cheap, and
we just simply couldn't do it without Specsavers. Dame Mary always says that she's really passionate about this event. For a number of reasons, but largely because she says when she comes down and she sees the children and she sees them smiling and laughing and enjoying it, then that's all she needs. But yeah, the reality is these things do cost. Everything from, obviously we provide T-shirts, medals, water bottles, the cost of hiring all the venues, both for the training and for games day, buses. It all does all stack up, and honestly, Specsavers are absolutely fantastic. Not only do they help pay for it, but they provide volunteers on the day who come along. Big shout out to Mags Broom, who has been our bus monitor every time. She's there at Foots Lane greeting the buses and ticking the children off as they come off the buses. But we always get a tremendous amount of help from them. And I think they enjoy it as well. They love coming down. They love being part of something that's just a bit different. Absolutely, without Specsavers, this would not happen.
And where do you see this event going now? Can it grow? I mean, yes.
Do you know, I'm not sure we can take more than 800. I think that probably is our limit. And fair play to quite a number of the sports who really pushed their numbers this year to make sure that there were places for all the children. I think we're realistic. The sort of school population figures are dropping a bit. So I think probably 800 will be our max. I think what's really heartening for me is that, some of our schools may be where the children don't get quite so much opportunity to play sports. I'm thinking an example being Amherst. I mean, we had nearly 90% of children signing up. I mean, that is tremendous, absolutely fantastic. And, that's testament to the hard work of our staff in those schools, the teachers in those schools who come down and support on games day as well. They come down and they support their children and they tell them how fantastic it is, and they encourage then, future years to come along and take part. So, I think this is probably at the level that I hope it stays at, because otherwise we're going to need more buses.
And any final thoughts as well?
I think on behalf of all sports, I would like to thank the Sports Commission and Specsavers. It is definitely one of the best events in our calendar. It happens every 2 years, so maybe we could think about doing it every year, Nicky. But
no,
just an idea for you. But thank you, and let's keep it going.
Yeah, and the same from me really is that the sports absolutely embrace it. I know it's hard work for them. I know sometimes, when they've got their own competitions, their own leagues, their own training nights, to put on another training night, it's a big ask. And it's a big ask for, as you know, the majority of sports are run by volunteers, but they do it every couple of years and they love it. And, it's my thanks to them for being part of it, because we couldn't do it without them.
Brilliant. Nicky, Martin, thank you for your time.
Thank you.